So we want to pass our entered name up to the app component from inside our person input component. And for this, we can set up our own event binding, or our own bindable event to be precise. Now, for our own property binding, we used input as a decorator. For our own event binding, we use output. So let's import output from @AngularCore in the person input component. And now we just need to use a property which will basically be turned into our own event transmitter, you could say, our own event emitter. I'll add this property here as the first property maybe, but that's up to you, the order doesn't matter. And I'll name it person create. The name is totally up to you. Now, in front of that, I'll add output with parentheses. And now I will initialize this with a default value, which we also have to import from AngularCore. And that's the event emitter object. This actually is a class or a constructor function. And therefore, we can use the new keyword to create a new event emitter object based on that class. That is what we store in person create. Now, this is a so-called generic type, which means we can add this strange smaller than greater than signs here. And in between, we define the type of data our event will eventually hold as data when we emit it, because you can pass some data along with your event. And I want to pass a string, because I want to pass the entered name with my event. And that is what we define with this syntax here. Now, down there, before we reset the input, I can therefore then call this person create, and then call emit. And this is a method made available by the event emitter. And then as an argument here, we pass the data we want to pass along with our event. And here, this is our entered person name. Now we're emitting this, and thanks to output, we can listen to this from outside. So from the parent component of this component, the component where we use this selector. So let's go to the app component where we do use it. And now here with the parentheses syntax, we can listen to person create. And then again, execute a function like on person created. Let's add this here in app component TS on person created. And of course, we now want to get that name that was created. We do pass it in person input. I do pass it to the emit method. And in app component, to pass it along as an argument to this method, we can use a special reserved variable name, $event. That is a name automatically created by Angular. It holds the data our event carries. If we don't pass it, our data will basically be lost. If we pass this special name here, Angular will forward the data of the event to which you're listening. So the data of the person create event in this case. This means our data will now reach our method here, and there it will be the name of that person, which will be a string in the end. Well, and here we can now simply use persons and push, that's a default JavaScript method, push the name onto this array. And with this, if we go back and I add Michael here, you see it's added and the DOM automatically updates. And the page never reloads. All of that happens behind the scenes through JavaScript thanks to Angular.